Oh, hey, vinyl community, and welcome YouTubers from everywhere. Sponsored today by the Audio Nerd in Rockland, California, my record store. I'd like to introduce you to today's program. We're going to be talking about a record label and a musician. The record label is the Japanese audiophile jazz label, Venus Records. I was not familiar with them, and one of the people that they like to record was the Eddie Higgins jazz trio, oftentimes larger groups. I was not familiar with him. That's about to change. I've got a nice stack of records here. This is the Venus label, Eddie Higgins. We'll talk about that record. We'll have some sound samples. Here's another one. Here's another one. Got 5 here in total. Have a few needle drops. I want to start out telling you a little bit about Eddie Higgins, and you're going to hear a little sample of one of the tunes off of this. This was his second recorded album in 1957. He was 25 years old at that time. This was his second record where he was the leader of the group. He did a little work previously to this. This particular record is described as soul jazz, and we're going to start out giving you a sample of one of the tunes off of this record. We'll have a little needle drop here, and I'll tell you some more about that and Eddie Higgins. On the Atlantic label, Solero, the Eddie Higgins Trio, 1957. There you can see the track list. We're going to have a little needle drop here on Making Whoopee. We pause for an educational moment. I'm going to say American popular music, let's say starting around 1900 with ragtime on up into the blues, then traditional jazz, then swing music, then big band. Nobody sat in a concert hall and listened to this back then. The music was all for dancing. It was around 1960 before people started sitting in concerts and listening to the musicians and the band they like. I'm presenting this because most everybody in the vinyl community is younger than me, and you probably started out going to concerts. There were very few concerts of this kind of music. You would have seen it in a club, and many of the people in the club would have been dancing. With that in mind, he starts off here in kind of a slow ballad tempo, and I've clipped that fairly short. This track is 6 or 7 minutes long, and the next part of it is he's going to go up to double tempo. And it's just wonderful the way he did this. Now, about half of the way through would be in a slow tempo, and then the second half would be in double tempo. This was one of the little tricks that the dancers loved back in the day, so they could warm up with a slow dance halfway through, then they hit it double time, and they could really show their stuff. This is not an easy record to find, especially in good condition. The vinyl on this is near mint minus. I had to pay $40 for this record. It's got the store named Peaches with 2 different price stickers on it here, and the original shrink not in great shape, but I want to save those hype stickers. The other thing I would say is this is a really outstanding sonic quality record, as most of the early Atlantic stuff was. Came with the original inner sleeve and this version of the Atlantic label. Tell you a little more about Eddie Higgins here. Check my notes, and then we'll get into Venus Records and his recording there. So after that record, he worked for about 20 years in jazz clubs in Chicago, the most prestigious jazz clubs, where he did a lot of records, really honed his skills. In 1970, he moved to Florida, and then in the early, again, playing clubs along the East Coast. And then in the early 80s, he started traveling extensively in Europe and Japan. He became a favorite of the Japanese audiences. He was one of the first people recorded on the Venus label. We'll be telling you about Venus label here in just a second. His tone and conceptions were often considered similar to that of Bill Evans. So if you like Bill Evans, you'll probably like this, but one of the things that was great about Eddie Higgins, he could really swing, okay? And it's the swing in the music that really makes it danceable. I found out about this through the vinyl community. Who would have thought? Somebody had a sampler record that was produced by them back when, and it was Japanese press only, and it was the best sounding recording on YouTube I had ever heard, and they talked about it, and I liked the music, and so then I went looking. Well, you're not going to get the original of that sampler, but they now have out a 10 LP box set that's a little bit pricey, but you can get this right now. And no, I didn't want to get a 10, which is all variety tunes mixed together. So I just went ahead and started checking into it. Well, their stuff was generally Japan only with not wide distribution. Their distribution has gotten a lot wider now. And the records I got from Analog Productions, from AcousticSounds.com, and I'll describe each one of these, but they've just been recently reissued on vinyl because many of them were just CD only. They started back in 1992, and of course that was the CD era. around midnight from this record, It's Magic, the Eddie Higgins Quintet, with Scott Hamilton on saxophone and Ken Poplawski on clarinet. As the Obi strip, the CD and the LP came out in 2007, was recorded then, but the LP was Japan only again, and so the originals of those are really hard to find. Well, in March of 23 of this last year, they put this out and made it available, wider distribution. This is Volume 2, and as far as I know, Volume 1 is not out yet. Ken Poplawski was born in 1959. He's one of the younger guys, one of the guys that's going strong right now. Scott Hamilton was born in 1954, and he's been compared as kind of the modern version of Ben Webster. So I wanted one here where it was just more than the trio, and this is an excellent one. Now, Venus Records started in 1992 by Tetsuo Hara in Japan, and he was a gentleman who had been in the record business, worked for RCA among other companies, and the first record issued on this label was Pharoah Sanders, which was his favorite artist. According to Discogs, up to current, they have recorded and produced 1,866 CDs. Many of these were just CD only because it was that era, and a few of the more popular ones were put on vinyl with very limited pressing, so the originals are just like hen's teeth. And they've been reissuing some of these LPs and making available for the U.S. market. Many American artists, but other artists as well, some with vocalists and various kind of things. You can check out this company on Venus Record, but venusrecord.com. They have a website. It's not too much information there, but of course, acousticsounds.com, you can see what they have. Some of them are going to be released here in the near future. Some of them are in short supply. You will see there are just 3 tunes on each side. They wanted to get the highest quality sound, pressed on the best vinyl. Some of the records were recorded in various studios, the U.S., and many of them were recorded in Japan using the best engineers. Very nice packaging. Of course, with the Obi strip, got the record titles on the back in English. The insert, as you might expect, that goes on the inside is all in Japanese. And there's what the record label looks like. Nice poly-lined inner sleeves. Eddie Higgins died in 2009, and through 2008 he had recorded 21 albums on the Venus label. I wanted to give you a little look at them playing live here, and there are very few recordings of him playing live on YouTube. And I think this was recorded later in his life in Japan, probably by somebody's cell phone before the cameras got so good. But just wanted to give you a little taste of his live performance. just listening to the tune Yellow Days. I was not familiar with that tune, and I just thought it had a beautiful medley. Just wanted to show you the packaging on this record. Nice paper. Gatefold. Of course, the information in Japanese. Double LP set, 33 RPM. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that program there. I'm going to show you a few more of the LPs to close off without a sound sample. I wanted to give you a little taste of this. You put them on your stereo, the sound is fantastic. And so if you have an interest, these are limited edition. They don't say limited to what, but I'm guessing in a few years they'll be hard to get. Just quickly show you the other three I picked up. Double LP. The double LPs are $70 at Acoustic Sounds. Another double LP. You can check all these out on YouTube. Single LPs or $40. Highly recommend this record if you just wanted to pick up one to get a little taste of the sound quality on these. So I hope you enjoyed, as I did, learning about a new audiophile jazz label and learning about the great pianist Eddie Higgins. I say keep 'em spinning. See you all down the trail.
Happy trail.